Welcome to the Soul Story Show, where real conversations and soulful stories help you live and write your next chapter. I'm your host, Brooke-Sidney Harbor, and today we're diving into a heartfelt and healing conversation about the power of self-talk, radical self-compassion, and the simple practice of leaving ourselves loving reminders. Joining me today are two amazing women, Helene and Zupanc and Beth G. Valdez, the co-authors of a book that is a part affirmation guide, part healing toolkit, and a part daily ritual. Sticky Note Mantras, the art and science of choosing your thoughts. This book is a soulful reminder that sometimes the messages we leave ourselves on our mirrors, our dashboards, and our laptops can actually help transform our lives. Whether you're in the middle of a self love journey or just looking for a better way to talk to yourself, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Hi, Beth. Hi, Helene. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
Super excited to have this conversation about this book. So let's get started. So Sticky Note Mantras was a project like 20 years in the making. Take us back to graduate school. What was that moment you realized this sticky note habit was more than just a personal ritual?
Also, I get poor Helene. We were on a break, and I walked up to her, and being awkward, I was like, "Hey, you want to see pictures of my dog?" And that was just kind of the impetus for us to start talking. But we kind of quickly realized we both use sayings and quotes and things that inspired us and kind of helped us do different things, like whether it got us moving to study or write a paper, or if we were kind of in a downward spiral, it kind of got us out of that. So Helene had brought up, like, I think this would be a great book, and I've had this great title, and it was the title that you see today, Sticky Note Mantras. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So we started writing. We're in between with having kids and life and moving cross country, and we first started with a pretty academic book and it was almost read like a textbook, and we both decided at some point, like, this isn't what we want to do. We want something relatable and easy and that anyone can pick up and kind of relate to the book as soon as they open it. So gosh, yeah, we had many versions, and Helene was really the one who just kept sending out queries to editors over the years. I was off doing my ADHD thing, like, oh, squirrel. And she kind of was the one that stayed focused. And we finally, with Kohler Books, reached out, and that was the one that got us, okay, for a year, we really kind of zeroed in, and we had fun writing it. And it really, I think both of us mentioned that it really helped our own mental health. Like, oh my gosh, I just found this really great research or this really great inspirational quote or this song. And we just, yeah, it was a fun year writing it and editing it together.
I love that because I know in the book you mentioned using mantras, quotes, and even song lyrics, which you're just now referencing, to kind of climb out of negative headspaces. Why do you think this approach resonated so deeply with both of you?
It resonated with me. I kind of started using them in high school years. I had terrible OCD, and I now treat people with OCD as a clinician. And I my brain was not working right, and I figured out some of the research about rewiring your brain, and you can actually see, PET scans where people think differently and how it calms down that overactive part of OCD. And I started making up phrases with my mom, who also has OCD, and they totally changed my life. My favorite one was, okay, brain glitch. I don't have to pay attention to that thought. Like, just realizing that it's just a thought. And that redirection was amazing. And when I met Beth, um, she's I love all her phrases and her mantras, and they really help me through life. One of my favorite ones is just don't stand still. That just keep moving, and that's based on a quote that says, "Be not afraid of going slowly, just don't stand still." And that one really helps me with motivation, and that you just do something little. Humor is healing. Beth is the funniest person I know, and I absolutely cherish our friendship. Like, she has so many funny mantras that just really diffuse your attachment to kind of your own bullshit sometimes.
That's good.
It is, yeah. And I tell you, making up the book and making up the mantras have enriched my life more than I can say.
So I know that you said like this book has kind of emerged from both personal experiences, which you're sharing, but also your clinical practice. How did working with the clients influence the structure and message of the book?
With sticky notes, like we always talked about how like we work with clients and we go through this process and we encourage them and have goals, and they walk out and come back and nothing stuck. So we started like the sticky notes, we're sticking this to you. And it was something simple, something, something that they could remember, something that was meaningful to them. And so that was kind of like sticky notes, let that stick, because there's all this amazing information, but I think sometimes there's too many options. But if we can hone it down to something personal and meaningful to be the cue to remind them, I think that's where the magic happens. Like awareness, like, right, I'm aware that this is happening. And then after that, we have our mantra to cue us into action, or if we need to practice forgiveness or whatever it is, whatever we're stuck on. It's the sticky note itself, and working with clients, realizing we needed something simple for them to take with them, especially, when they're overwhelmed and there's already too many things going on. They're not going to remember, hey, let's slow down and do the 4-4-4 box breathing. But a simple quote or a song lyric that was meaningful, that they could remember. And that's the cue. And so, yeah, we have been integrating it, and, it's part of CBT and ACT, and we've kind of interwoven. And I think both of us talk about clients get excited when you find something that resonates with them. So, or when they come up with their own mantra, it's very exciting, and they really buy into it, and they can see the change and see how cueing our brain out of kind of circular rumination type thinking, it works. It really can get us out of that thought loop that we often get stuck in.
Our brain is always telling us stories. It's always going off and filling in blanks, and it's not helpful though, especially if it's trying to protect us, which is nice, but not helpful all the time. It definitely, you need to interrupt that, because we do have the power to refocus. And like Beth said, it's just a simple cue, because often, like she said, we'd meet with people and they come back and I'm like, oh, did you did you do did any of that resonate? And it is just an easy way, and there's a lot of brain research that says forming new neural pathways take quite a bit of repetition, because you've been thinking differently for a long time. So starting to replace that, actually, with our neuroplasticity and all the research that we can change our brain, it's a great something that's repetitive, that you can have, stuck to your computer, or anything that, especially, the self-compassion, I think, is really hard for a lot of people. The inner critic it just goes wild. So I really like mantras about self-compassion a lot.
I love that. So, since you're starting to explain a little bit about the science, because a lot of people, I think, are becoming more aware about mantras or affirmations. They seem to have some different names, like in kind of the atmosphere in the world right now. Talk a little bit about the neuroscience behind it. And I think you have a term called ants that you use often.
You want me to take that? Yeah, the ants are automatic negative thoughts, right? And we have a negative bias as human beings. We're just kind of programmed, because that's survival, right? If we're worried about things, then we're more likely to stay alive. And so we have these automatic negative thoughts that pop up. And it doesn't mean they're true, they just happen. And we can't thought stop. But what we can do is create that bigger neural pathway that is stronger, that when we have that negative thought, we have that neural pathway that's strong and been reinforced, and creating habits that we can pull from to redirect it. So, for instance, if I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot, automatic negative thought, I'm mad at myself, redirect, look, self-compassion, you're probably not at your best today, and that's okay. And it's just the redirect. And now I've been so much kinder to myself, and our words create our truth. So if I say, oh, I'm such an idiot, my brain is like, oh, we're an idiot. And that becomes part of my core belief. But if we can start recognizing that those words, we're not being very nice to ourselves with that harsh inner critic, and we can start redirecting and creating and choosing words that create the truth we want and kind of overriding those negative core beliefs about ourselves, man, we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting and of the workload for our brain. So yeah, it's a very handy little tool.
It's very interesting because I don't think a lot of people realize that their thoughts that they're thinking all the time are habitual. And I know you all mentioned it's a pattern, kind of a breaking our habits, but our habits in our mind. And, you know, a lot of us have picked up these thoughts, right, when we're in our childhood. Tell me about some of maybe the clients or the people you were thinking about that may have had these similar patterns where they picked up some sort of thought in their childhood, but were able to create a new mantra that has helped them.
Well, we both work with patients with trauma, and it doesn't have, it can be a tiny trauma or a huge trauma. It doesn't matter. Somewhere along the way, we make conclusions about ourselves and the world around us and other people. So it's really helpful to go back and kind of see when you made that conclusion, maybe, or all the little instances that helped you create that. Your brain just remembers. I think we use the example of if a bunch of girls were talking about you in high school and you had a difficult time with bullying, then you're at work and your brain is holding up a big sign when you see people around the water cooler, those people are talking about you. And it just is so automatic. It's just that awareness piece that, yeah, I did make the conclusion that people talk about me or people don't like me. And there's so many of those core thoughts that we just carry with us, and we don't even really realize it. It's just very automatic. So creating just a little space between the thought and having something like a mantra gets you to pause and form those new belief systems that are more helpful and more effective.
I love that because part of what you are, I think, also encouraging here is mindfulness and self-compassion, which, you know, oftentimes when we get into those kind of habitual ways of thinking or negative self-talk, it's hard to break through. Can you talk to us a little bit about, you know, mindfulness and self-compassion as it relates to the mantras?
Yeah, absolutely. Mindfulness, right, is bringing us into the present moment. Are you thinking about all the stuff you need to do tomorrow? Are you thinking about how you messed up yesterday? Then you're not being mindful or in the present moment. But when we can really ground ourselves and remind ourselves to be here in the now, and the mantra is the cue, like take a deep breath, focus on the now. Like that is the brain cue to remind us. And our brain will continue to wonder, right? Like, oh, wait, what happened last week? Nope, return to present. And as we practice that, we build up that muscle, like that skill. So we're building that habit so that it really does remind us like, hey, I can worry about the future. I can ruminate about the past. Can't change either one of those, so out of my control. But I can cue myself through my mantra to kind of be mindful and present. And when we're grounded in the present moment, right, we're taking everything with value. Our nervous system is down regulating. Everything feels a little bit more calm because we're not having these worries or these regrets. So mindfulness is amazing. And, you know, it can be so many different things, just slowing down the mind, right? So going for that meditative walk, mindful meditation walk. What color are the trees? What does the air smell like? And again, it's just down regulating the nervous system, shutting off all those tabs we have open and kind of bringing the focus so that our mind doesn't feel so frantic and all over the place, but kind of more calm and centered, which in today's world, we always need a little bit more of that. And I think on the self-compassion, it's the cue, like, right? I think we're at that negative bias. Most of us have kind of grown up with that inner coach, just like, you know, get up, you idiot, keep going, you got this, like, what's wrong, right? But we need to have that inner cheerleader, and that's where the self-compassion comes in, like, because the cheerleader cheers for the team no matter what. They're getting beat 100 to nothing or, you know, 40 to nothing. They're still cheering for the team, and that's what we need to do with our self-compassion, right? We're human. We're going to make mistakes. And so cueing our brain like, hey, one of my favorite ones that I'm using right now is all losses are lessons. So no matter what, if things are bad, things are going, you messed up, you know what? It's a lesson. What can you learn from it? And really kind of pulls in that growth mindset. And with that compassion, right? I'm not at my best today. Oof, I totally messed that up. But you know what? I wasn't at my best. And so that makes sense that I wasn't at 100%. Or, you know, kind of if you give 30%, and you're only at 30%, you just gave 100%. So like those are the little cues, the mantras that we can use. It's fun, it's meaningful, it reminds us. We kind of talked about songs. That's easy. Most of us have a song stuck in our head, and it's easy to kind of pull up. Like one of the favorite ones Helene introduced me to was A Little Less Conversation, a Little More Action by Elvis, because a lot of times we just get that, decision paralysis. I have so many options, right? I don't know what to choose. I don't want to choose wrong. And that song kicks in. It's like, you know what? Just pick something, like, right? A little less conversation. We're done talking about it. Now we got to actually do stuff. So it works wonders to kind of remind us of the things that we need to do.
Oh, I was just going to say, add to what Beth said, definitely creating a little wise counselor on your shoulder instead of that inner critic is a wonderful visual way to think about it. There's so many times where people's just first reaction is just to judge themselves, and then you're the attacker and the attackee, and you kind of go into fight or flight mode, and you don't get through things fast. Some people think, oh, it's a cop-out, self-compassion, I need to be hard on myself, and it's so not. It's learning. I think Kristen Neff, her work on self-compassion, she has 3 components. Mindfulness, actually realizing when you're doing it, giving yourself the self-kindness, and then common humanity, realizing that everyone else, it's part of human to feel different ways, and you don't need to do anything about it. It's just ride the wave. I like what was one of my, I remembered when Beth said once about compassion. It's definitely a favorite one, because there's so much research on it that says it helps you move forward. So yeah, and I definitely think the mindfulness too. We need cues to be mindfulness. The past and the future only exist in our mind. We're thinking about it all the time. I had a client that just made up, be here, put down the phone, be here now. That was that was funny. But it's so easy for us to get caught in our heads. So even just a cue to be here now is helpful.
That's such a good point, because right, when we use our phone, we're avoiding. A lot of times we don't even, like, maybe we're tired or people are talking and we're not interested, so we go to our phone, and it's like the hang up and hang out. That's what the kids use.
It reminded me when Beth was talking about the self-compassion. There's a really good book, The 4 Agreements, and one of his agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz is just do your best. And that really speaks to what she was talking to about giving yourself that self-compassion, that your best is different every day. It's always changing, because we're always changing and everything's different. But he really distinguishes not to do more than your best, or you'll deplete your body, go against yourself, but not to do less than your best, because then you'll be, subjected to regrets or things like that. So it's definitely finding that balance and realizing your best is going to be different every day. Or brave looks different every day is another good mantra. There's so many of them that people have made up over the years with me. And it's a wonderful tool. And we've really included the basic components of mental health in the book. As far as, self-compassion, self-care, forgiveness, perfectionism, positive self-concept, laughter as medicine, curiosity, inner strength, and then, perceptions, acceptance, forgiveness, letting go, all the being present and being mindful, gratitude, balance. So we've kind of taken the most important things that we talk to clients about and put it in the format of mantras. And they're all so fun, and some of them are silly. I know one of my favorites, I have to get this in, is a quote from The Big Lebowski. And it makes me remember that if I can't control something, just let it go. It's the line where he says, "Fuck it, dude, let's go bowling." That's in it. To me, that is my little cue that, okay, I can't control that. I'm going to move on. So definitely deeply
Right.
personal ones are really helpful, that go with your sense of humor, or something that means a lot to you.
Well, I know that, switching gears a little bit and thinking about the book kind of in wider context, especially as it relates to, you all writing the book and working to market and sell the book. Obviously now terms about manifestation, terms about affirmation are definitely in the world now. They're almost commonplace. I myself, another hat I wear is a mindset and manifestation coach. Do you think the world of manifestation and the world of mindset, reprogramming our minds, do you think that having this awareness now is a good thing for your book, or are you using it as a wave to ride, or are you finding yourself distinguishing your book and mantras from affirmations and so forth?
That's interesting. I think manifestations, you can use mantras within manifestations. Like when we think of manifestation in the old, it's like I want to win the lottery, but that's not what manifestation is, right? It's
No.
really more what we focus on, we find. So if we are focusing on that, then we're going to put our energy and make those things, happen. And so I think those cues can remind us of that manifestation, right? So if I'm get discouraged because I'm trying to, earn another degree and I'm not doing well in the class. Well, I can use like, hey, I know what I want. This is where I want to go. And today's a tough day, but you're going to get through this, right? I can use my mantras to kind of push through those tougher moments to reach that goal that I'm trying to manifest. So I think they go beautifully hand in hand together.
They do. They do. Well, let's switch to talk a little bit about the writing process. A lot of people that watch the show are aspiring writers. So, how did you know, especially with your busy lives, two families, that now was the time to write and publish this book?
It was perfect timing, right? I just moved back to Arizona, so I'd lived in Colorado, and it all kind of came around the right time. So I was back. I don't even know how much money we spent at Starbucks and Panera, meeting up and writing and editing and going through things. But yeah, the timing worked out beautifully for this right now.
That's great. So, what was the hardest chapter to write and why? And, what was it like revisiting parts of your story as you were writing the book?
Personally, I think the personal story was the hardest part. Navigating like how much do I disclose was in recognizing even sometimes like, whoa, maybe this isn't something I'm completely processed because it's hard for me to write, or I'm worried about how this is going to look or present. So I think for me that was the hardest because it was a very long personal story. We had to cut it way down, and that process was even a little challenging. But yeah, I think that for me that was the most challenging one. How about you, Helene?
Yeah, that was it. It is hard to, be vulnerable and kind of put
Hmm.
yourself out there, and let people let people see you. Um, but I think it's really important, to let everyone know that this wasn't a book that was born out of, sitting in a forest and meditating, or it was
Right.
born out of struggles. Um, it's We're real people too, and I think when you use something, every day, and when it's affected your life so much, that's when it's important to you.
I love that. So, how did this writing journey deepen your friendship? I mean, obviously, you two were friends, met in grad school. How did it deepen your friendship and your collaborative process?
I think it brought us closer. Right? We've been close on and off, right? But in distance. But gosh, I mean, we probably talked every day for a good part of a year almost. And yeah, we kind of went through some hard times together and kind of checked in with one another when things went wrong. So I think, and we spent a lot of time in hotel rooms together and doing different book fairs and all that. So yeah, we've definitely grown closer as this process. But man, we've been friends for a long time. And when you move in different places, sometimes it's easy for friendships to, you know, kind of fade away, but ours just never did. And I think the book is one of the things that probably anchored that for us.
I love that. So, for aspiring co-authors out there, what did your actual co-author process look like? Like, were there defined roles? Did you write in tandem? How did that writing process go?
We actually had it on like a for a while before they had, I mean, because we started it so long ago, it was hard to coordinate. But now, with Google Docs, that you can both work on it simultaneously, and it was so beautiful because I'm more of a sometimes when I write, it's a little more academic, and I'll ask Beth, can you go in there and make it relatable? And she's so good at that. And it just kind of worked. We both put different research in, or something that we found that we've been using, and for us, it wasn't that bad of a process. It was pretty smooth. Would you agree, Beth?
Yeah, she reined me in. So when I'd write something, just, she's like, okay, Beth, we probably need to like bring it in just a little bit. So I think we complemented each other really well. And if we felt stuck, the other one always seemed to have a great idea to help us get unstuck. So yeah, the
Yeah, I can't
process was pretty
imagine,
seamless.
couldn't have done it by myself.
Oh, that's good.
And
What advice would you give friends and therapists that want to do exactly what you did, co-write a book together?
Well, today it's so much easier, right? All these platforms they can use, and don't use Chat GPT. Yeah, if you have a message or a story, gosh, what a beautiful way to do it with a friend or a family member that you love, and the process just it unfolded with us together. I mean, I just like she said, I couldn't imagine doing it by myself. Definitely needed her along.
It's one of those things where you feel like you can do it when you have someone that's doing it with you. And there's so many aspects. I am like the worst with social media. I have no idea. And Beth knows about that, and she taught me a lot, and I'm still trying to do it. I'm it's not my favorite thing, but it just, you balance each other out, and it's really a great journey to start together.
I love that. So let's turn to kind of the readers of the book. What is the number one thing that you want readers to walk away with from the book?
I think just
That
the
you don't
tools.
have to keep thinking. Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead, Helene.
don't, no, no, I was just gonna say that. Don't believe everything you think. Um,
Mm,
eh, there's a quote by Daniel Amen, don't believe everything you hear, even in your own mind. And that definitely, just to challenge those thoughts, or to be aware of them, and that to know that you can change them, and you can create new habits, and you can let go of things that you don't need anymore, that thoughts that don't serve you. And it will change your life. Um, it's really a simple process, but it's
right.
something that takes you off autopilot, because so many of us are on autopilot.
That's very true. Have you heard from any readers or clients who've told you this book made the difference in their lives?
We have. When we get recognized at a book fair, like they've read it and they've seen it in like, oh my gosh, the sticky note mantra ladies. We love your book, and they teach it in church groups, and they teach it in, women's groups, and in book clubs. So that has been really flattering and exciting to hear. And it is
Yeah.
nice when we send out a monthly blog and newsletter, and we'll get emails or text messages from people like, oh my gosh, this was so inspiring. Thank you. I'm going to use this. It's really reassuring that people are out there hearing our message and getting things to take away.
That's right. What's next for you both and for the sticky note mantras movement? I know there's talk of maybe a companion workbook and even school curriculum.
Yes. We did put together a kids book. It's short for, obviously, for kids, and it helps parents kind of know what to do as well, because you just think about, you're in a moment where your kid says, I hate you, and we immediately react, right? But having
Right.
something already in your mind, like, this is about them, not me, or so, so many things you could say to yourself, really changes the game. And using mantras with your kids, letting them know that when you're anxious, there's something you can tell yourself, a mantra. Or when you feel like you're not liked at school, changing that message, because it's so hard when you're a kid and you just want to fit in. That's just natural.
And we have enough material from our editor made us shrink our book weight. Like on the word count, we were always like, oh, so we took out so much that we could easily throw together a second book. And I think we've learned so much. There's things that we would like to add into that. And so
That's true. Do you see this work expanding maybe into other spaces, like maybe therapy, obviously for other clinicians, or education you mentioned, but what about even corporate wellness? Do you see it expanding into those other areas?
we would love it to. Yeah, we'd have to make it a little more, less spicy version to get it. But we've had, yeah, even in healthcare where, could be a book on a recommended list for people who, have a certain healthcare plan. But yeah, we would definitely have to pull in a little of the spice. But yeah, I think that, it's a simple concept and it works. And I mean, when you marry those two things together, I think you've got something really great. So yeah, I think this could expand across a lot of spaces.
I think it's fantastic because one of the things that's mentioned often about the book is that even though it's written by clinicians, like two therapists, it's very relatable and the personal stories make it so and make it easy to remember. So even as you are kind of translating that out into other spaces, putting my book coach hat on, you might want to keep some of the spice because that's what keeps people, activated, their minds attentive. And even at work, people want some fun and it helps them remember, I think, a lot of the stories and the teachings that are in there. So definitely enjoyed the spice, the fun in the book.
Good to hear.
Don't take it out. Well, one of the fun things that I love to do on the show is kind of have a quick fire and reflection part. So think and give us your quick, first answer. And I'd love for both of you to share. So, because it's a book show, we must know, what are you currently reading or a book that's touched your soul recently?
Oh my God, we read so many books. I was just thinking, Island of Lost Trees. I'm reading that right now and it's so beautifully written. I'm just geeking out over it incredibly. I love a beautifully written book. Like the words can just make me inspired. And one of my all-time favorite books is Barbara Kingsolver, and I just read it again. The Poison Oak Bible was one of my favorite. I just love inspiring stories, and if they can get international, all the more better.
I have to say I'm always reading clinical books, but I love just my fun books too. I think my favorite was Brain Lock, the one I read about OCD that really changed my life. And I use it all the time with clients. But oh my gosh, other books, I have so many favorite authors. It's hard to pick. I love memoirs, The Glass Castle, Running with Scissors, all that kind of stuff is just, it's great to hear personal stories, people that have gone through some really amazing things and they've learned from it and they share it with others. I think they're very inspiring.
I love it. Okay, the next kind of quick rapid fire is, what does the term your soul story mean to you?
I think it means that this is what's important to us. This is part of our world, and that's why we're so passionate about it.
What excites you? What gets you energetic? What speaks to your heart and mind? That is your soul story. Absolutely.
Yes, totally agree. It is oftentimes interpreted as, what did you think that you're here to share? What's so important for you to make sure it gets out and shared with other people? So I love that answer. Would each of you be willing to share one sticky note mantra you have up right now?
People will people. People, that kind of evolved from people, right? But now it's about people will people. We gotta let them. And I love that one.
I have one right here on my computer. Brave looks different every day because I'm trying to do one new thing, one brave thing, even if it's tiny, just talking to someone uh, uh, that I see at the grocery but I have to realize that that's going to be different every day. So I've been using that one a lot.
I love that. Where can people find the book and stay connected to you both?
The book is on Amazon, but our website is stickynotemantras.com. You can sign up for our blog. We send 2 mantras with all the research and background on why it's a helpful one a month. And then we're on social media as well, Instagram, Facebook, Sticky Note Mantras, and we're trying to do more videos and things too on TikTok.
That's
We
fun.
try to post an inspirational quote or mantra or something, a couple days a week, and whenever I come across it, I just throw it up on social media because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so good, let's share it. And our book's also Barnes and Noble. You can get it on BAM. There's a lot of different resellers that would carry it.
Wow. I hope you all are leaving this episode feeling inspired to speak to yourself with more kindness, compassion, and truth. A huge thank you to Helene and Beth for sharing their story and the heart behind Sticky Note Mantras. If today's conversation moved you, make sure you grab their book, leave it on your nightstand, your desk, or your bathroom mirror. Let it become a daily conversation with your highest and best self. And don't forget, your words shape your reality, and your story is sacred. And the way you speak to yourself, that's where the healing begins. So if you love this episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who you know needs it. And you can also leave a review or tag us on social. We definitely love hearing from you. And if you've been thinking about writing your own story or turning your wisdom into a book, let's talk. I'd love to support you. Until next time, I'm Brooke-Sidney, and this is the Soul Story Show. Real conversations, soulful stories, and your next chapter starts here.